Before we begin, I'd like to forewarn viewers that this will not be a comprehensive video of all cut locations. Doing an in-depth video like that would honestly take much more time than I currently have. If you're interested in watching an extremely in-depth analysis of New Vegas cut content, I highly encourage you to check out Triangle City's videos on New Vegas. Now, with that out of the way, let's dive into the video. Hello everyone and welcome back to another installment in the Cut Content Encyclopedia. Today, we'll be wishing for a nuclear winter in Obsidian's Fallout New Vegas. The development of New Vegas is notorious for being a rocky endeavor, with the development cycle known to be rushed and incomplete by the game's launch, resulting in a lot of content ultimately being cut from the final game. Despite this, fans flocked to the wastelands of the Mojave countless times over. Thanks to these dedicated fans, many mods reincorporate cut elements in order to provide a more fully realized New Vegas. So, we'll be looking at those mods as they appear. Alright, let's crack open the Fallout New Vegas Cut Content Encyclopedia and see what all we're missing in a fan-favorite entry.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
While Cottonwood Cove does appear in the game, a bunker was intended to be featured in the location as well. Not much remains of the Cove bunker within the game's files other than objects and actors that reference the location's existence at one point in development. Irradiated rad roaches, a lighting effect, and an incomplete script called NVCC Bunker Logbook Script are still within the GEC. As with much of the content, it was likely scrapped due to time constraints, and its incomplete state removed from the game as well. Simply uncut for New Vegas re-implements the bunker. Due to little information being known about the bunker itself, liberties were taken with its design and overall function. The mod lists the location as speculation, meaning the content mentioned in the files had no physical form, example, or raw version. The third floor of the Gomorrah Hotel, while entirely complete but lacking NPCs, can still be accessed using the console command COC Gomorrah 02. The reason for this floor's exclusion stems from the Gomorrah's already labyrinth-like qualities. The developers at Obsidian had concerns over players navigating the hotel, which ultimately led to the floor's exclusion. Joshua Sawyer, the lead designer and project leader for New Vegas, commented on the level's removal, stating that the Gomorrah, even as it shipped, was large and difficult to navigate. Several quests had to snake through that labyrinth, and having additional levels actually detracted from the experience. Simply Uncut reinvigorates the location, adding in loot and populating the level with NPCs. Overall, the team at Obsidian wanted to add more Legion-controlled areas for the player to explore. However, due to the time crunch imposed by Bethesda, the team did not have the appropriate amount of time to really dig into the Legion's questline or locations. For example, the tents beyond the fort were originally intended to be a fully explorable area. Unfortunately, this low-quality texture, low-polygon area is all we're left with. Even if it was included, it's likely that the amount of NPCs in the area would have caused the game to crash. The northwest and southwest sewers are planned to connect up with the central sewer system. While the spaces are fully fleshed out and appear to be in a mostly finished state, including NPCs both dead and alive, they lack traditional methods of entry or exit. I'm not entirely sure why these areas were scrapped, but I could assume a scrapped quest or part of a quest led to their exclusion. Once again, mods like Simply Uncut or Cut Sewers Restored re-add the sewers and populates them with super mutants, centaurs, and raiders for the players to fight against. Underpass would have been a small town or settlement that the unmarked location, Carlisle St. Clair's house, would have resided in. The location, at least by name, was cut, as the official game guide for New Vegas includes the note, "Find Carlisle St. Clair's house in Underpass," and the side quest, "Beyond the Beef." From what little information is known, the town would have had a water purifier. The town originally had a mayor and a citizen model, but we'll cover those two later in the video. Underpass is still technically in the game, but only has a few abandoned houses and is lacking its original NPCs. Simply Uncut, sticking true to its commitment to reinstating a plethora of cut content, also re-implements the quote, "up-and-coming settlement" for players to explore and experience. The mod adds in several new buildings and re-implements the cut NPCs mentioned previously. Back in the map's earliest iterations, the Mojave Wasteland was going to be quite larger and would have featured several locations we ultimately never saw in the final release. Let's take a look at this beta map and see what could have been. Calada was to be a town situated on the southwestern part of the map, nestled between Prim and the Mojave Outpost. Judging on its location, I can only assume that the rest stop just outside of the Mojave Outpost is a remnant of what Calada was supposed to be. A version of Calada exists in the Simply Uncut mod as the Calada Merchant's Rest Stop, but has been created out of speculation due to the limited information regarding the location. Camp Willow became a location of mention only by the time of the game's release. In terms of lore, an NCR military camp was located at Willow Beach, but after the First Battle of Hoover Dam, a battle took place at Camp Willow which resulted in its eventual destruction. This in turn pushed the NCR off the east side of the Colorado River, allowing the Legion to take control. Camp Willow would have been located on the eastern portion of the map, sitting northeast of Camp Forlorn Hope and southeast of Hoover Dam. Malpais Mine would have been located near the Tecaticup Mine and southwest of Nelson. The mineshaft itself would have been connected to the Tecaticup Mine, but the entrance point was filled in with rubble by the time of the release. It's unclear how much the mineshaft was completed, or if it was intended to be traversable at all. According to the official game guide, Malpais is a rarely tracked area that offers an exceptional view of the river. At this point, there's a filled-in mineshaft that used to lead to Tecaticup Mine. The Malpais Legionnaire camp was to be a Legionnaire camp located on the southeastern portion of the map, directly eastward of Camp Forlorn Hope. I couldn't find much on the camp in terms of lore or significance, but given the Malpais the camp name, and the fact that Joshua Graham was once known as the Malpais Legate, it's possible that this Legion camp was originally led by the former Legate prior to his burning. Simply Uncut re-adds a location and places it across the Colorado River. It can be accessed via a tunnel system near Nelson. The only trace of Vault 24 is a jumpsuit that was left in the game's files. However, even this jumpsuit can only be accessed through the use of console commands. The vault is also not featured anywhere on the early map draft. In current lore, no mention of this vault exists outside of this singular jumpsuit. Joshua Soar made mention of this vault, stating, "I think we may have generated a few additional vault suits from vaults that we never intended to be in the game, but I can't remember why. Maybe as part of a collection quest for Sarah Wintrob? So, it's entirely likely that Vault 24 was never intended to be included, only the jumpsuit as a part of the collection quest." Several locations exist purely on the beta map alone, and don't have much in terms of lore or information regarding their purpose or design. Devil Peak, Elephant Hill, Frenchman Mountain, Mount Perkins, Mommy Mountain, and Sunrise Mountain were likely intended to be mountainous regions on the edges of the map, similar to their real-world counterparts. They might have featured small trails or visitor centers, but likely would have acted as the map borders. In terms of famous locations, the Nevada Dry Lake, parts of the Grand Canyon in the form of Puget Point, the Floyd Lamb State Park, Valley of Fire State Park, were at one point slated to appear on the map as well, but were ultimately cut once the map shrunk in size or due to resource management issues. This seems to be the case with Concrete Dunes, the Las Vegas Dunes, and the Las Vegas Bay Campground. A few smaller cities and unincorporated towns were intended to be included as well, those being Garnett, Sandy Valley, Wheaton Springs, and Ripley. Sandy Valley and Ripley are both former mining communities, and could have possibly filtered into mine shafts. East Las Vegas and Summerlin, which are both partially within Las Vegas city limits, would have padded out New Vegas itself. However, given the trouble the development team had with the game engine and optimizing the city itself, it's not too surprising the areas were cut. Even the concept art shows a much more ambitious take on New Vegas, giving us a good look at what could have been. Based on their location, these two areas still likely exist on the map as destroyed buildings and without map markers. Cottonwood Cove Building 01. This interior is an unused cabin interior originally intended for Cottonwood Cove. While the area is filled with items owned by Legionnaires and appears to be in a complete state, the interior is strangely absent from the base game. At one point in development, and even in the first few days of the game's launch, the courier would have been able to chase Benny down into his escape tunnel and into Vault 21. However, as is known, access to this area is not possible without the use of glitches, console commands, or mods. While it is unfinished, Simply Uncut re-adds the location and connects it to Vault 21 as intended. While technically not unused, it is unseen in its entirety. In-game is where the player spawns for their final rolling slides after getting a game completion. On the other side of the wall, Ron the narrator can be found. Out in the Mojave Wastelands, near the Fire Ant spawn, a hole can be found with the text, tunnel inaccessible when hovering above it. While this could simply be a case of marking an unusable entrance, it could also imply the possibility of a cut fire anti-cave system or interior. Signs for an armory in the facility can be found in the game's files. However, the armory never appears on the map itself. It's unclear why the block of the building went unused, but the likely answer could be due to time constraints or resource management issues. It's no secret that several of the locations underwent minor to major changes. This was largely done in order to make the game run properly on consoles. The resource management for some locations would cause the game to crash, leading the developers to make changes along the way. The city of New Vegas underwent several changes during the production of the game, from size changes to cut areas to placing boundaries between certain sections of the city. The New Vegas we ultimately got is a fraction of what could have been. Plans for an East Las Vegas existed at some point, appearing on early draft designs of the playable area. Cut gates, specifically the western and southern gates, were removed later in development. Early gameplay footage, concept artwork and promotional artwork, and even comic strips preceding the game's release show us these gates. These promotional clips show us a lot of cut content as well. Inside the strip, a tall white building can be seen at one end, near the western gate. What this building was, and its overall purpose has not been made public. At least, not to my knowledge. Hello everyone, thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the video. I want to apologize for the time it took to get out such a short video in comparison with my older uploads. Balancing teaching, my own personal life, and YouTube is more difficult than I thought it would be. Right now, a vast majority of my time goes into teaching and into my own personal life, so finding time to sit down and work on videos is rather difficult. During breaks in the school year and on longer weekends, I'll try to devote more time to video creation in order to decrease the time between uploads. The next video will focus on cut quests and cut characters, the latter if time allows. So, be on the lookout in the hopefully near future for another shorter 10-minute or so installment. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.